Right now on Denver 7 News at 7 o'clock on Local 3, Aurora's camping ban is moving forward. We're looking at the revised version, headed to a final vote in 2 weeks.
Signs of a new normal in the pandemic. More mask requirements are dropping and a popular tour is making a comeback. Now we're hearing from economists about the major rebound for our state's economy.
And a sure sign spring is on the way. The Colorado Rockies are back on the field in spring training, getting ready for the season on a fast timeline after the league lockout delays. As we take a live look, we don't have a live look at Coors Field, but you can imagine what it looks like with the sunrise we have out there.
Beautiful.
It's beautiful. Good morning to you. I'm Brian Sanders.
And I'm Micah Smith. It's going to be an absolutely gorgeous day today, but soak it in while you can because the chance of snow blowing on in. Isn't that right, Katie?
It sure is. Good morning, you guys. And as the sun comes up, it is a really pretty sunrise here over the metro area with just some high clouds out there. Dry conditions statewide. A lot of pretty colors over Civic Center Park currently with temperatures in the low 30s downtown and out to the airport. Winds relatively calm. Temperature-wise for your wake-up forecast, 10 o'clock, 45 degrees. So warm quickly, 60 by 1 o'clock and daytime highs reaching the mid to upper 60s later on this afternoon. Relatively calm winds for the metro area, some gustier conditions out to our east. As you can see, as we get through 4:30, plenty of sunshine, and then for tonight, temperatures will gradually drop down to the upper 30s by morning, but it's all ahead of our next cold front. Early tomorrow morning, here's 6:30, you can start to see some of that snow making its way into northwestern Colorado, impacting I-70 over higher terrain. So we are going to be seeing moisture moving into the Metro Colette. Tomorrow afternoon, it's going to be rain shifting to snow. Could be a little treacherous for our Thursday morning drive.
Oh no, oh no, oh no. I'm not ready for that. But right now, our drive times are starting to show more people out on the roads. Before I get to this accident out east, I want to show you some of the times that you might encounter if you're driving in the metro there. Some slowdowns starting to happen kind of naturally as we see more people wake up with that sunrise. But then if you head out east, check out what Air Tracker was showing us. There was a rollover crash, unfortunately, there on I-70 eastbound. You can see that car right there crash. But let's get back to the map. Those drive times in other parts of the metro also not looking too bad this morning. Down south, actually, all green, which is great.
Aurora's City Council is moving forward with a plan to ban urban camping in the city. Mayor Mike Coffman broke a tie vote last night for an amended version of the plan.
Denver 7's Christian Lopez joins us live. And Christian, this issue will be back on the agenda in 2 weeks.
Yeah, it will be, and that's because they added an amendment, but it wasn't the one Mayor Coffman had originally proposed. Now, for the most part, this ordinance will stay the same. City still has to give people 72 hours notice and make sure that there's enough shelter space available. And if people don't comply, they could get a ticket or even face an arrest. But Mayor Coffman was trying to add an amendment clarifying people found to be illegally camping wouldn't receive a court summons or be convicted. But that proposal did not get a second in council and it was defeated. Councilmember Crystal Murillo, though, did introduce an amendment to temporarily store personal belongings cleaned up from these camps.
We are taking away everything that people have in this world with this ordinance. How dare we not even provide an opportunity to store that safely for people? How dare we? This is everything that people own.
And Murillo's amendment does direct city manager to come up with a plan for storage. And the earliest that this ban could come back to city council is 2 weeks from now. And if it does pass, it could take effect 30 days later, so as early as April 30th. I'm Christian Lopez, Denver 7.
All right, thank you, Christian. Well, at least 3 other Colorado cities already have camping bans. They are Denver, Boulder, and Fort Collins. All have faced court challenges, and you'll see how complicated these issues get as we take a look at Denver's timeline specifically. The city council first passed a camping ban a decade ago. Back in 2019, a measure to end it was defeated by voters. Months later, though, a judge ruled the ban unconstitutional, and then an appeals court upheld the ban. In our last election, Ordinance 303 would have modified Denver's camping ban to require 4 designated camping sites and force the city to take action on an unauthorized camp within 72 hours of getting a complaint. A judge threw out the 72-hour rule just before Election Day, and voters defeated the proposal.
A lot of local industries seem to be bouncing back to pre-pandemic operations. Theatergoers in Denver will soon no longer have to show proof of a negative COVID-19 test or wear a mask inside. The Colorado Symphony, Opera Colorado, Colorado Ballet, and the Denver Center for the Performing Arts announced they will lift requirements at the end of the month. And after a 2-year hiatus, Coors' famous Golden Brewery Tour is coming back this Friday. They closed doors on March 13th, 2020. There are a few rules. Anyone 6 and older will have to provide proof they've received the COVID-19 vaccine, and group sizes are limited. There's even more good news for our economy. Our state unemployment rate is dropping and jobs are coming back. Denver 7's Veronica Acosta joins us live. Veronica, while this is great to hear, small business owners are facing other struggles.
They are, and most of those jobs that we lost in those first 2 months of the pandemic, those are now back. That's at least what state economists are saying, and this is a really great rebound. They expect the next jobs report, which actually comes out in about 10 days or so, to show that we've gained 100% of those jobs back now. Now, one thing that's not back to those pre-pandemic levels, that's employment. The other challenge is the supply chain issues that so many businesses are dealing with right now. Banded Oak Brewery, a small brewery here in Denver, they're definitely feeling that pinch. Those supply chain issues forcing them to boost up the price of their beers.
We're small, we don't distribute, so it's very transparent what we are able to create at what cost, and then we do have to pass some of that on. And it's been happening for a while before we had to increase costs on the menu. So it just kind of got to a point where it's like, okay, this is going to affect the way we run it.
And at Banded Oak Brewery, like I mentioned, they have had to increase menu prices. They've had to bump those up about 50 cents a drink there. If you're wondering about where we're at job-wise, economists say we'll be around 3% unemployment sometime this year. We're live in Denver. I'm Veronica Acosta, Denver 7.
All right, thank you, Veronica. A new study is showing the impact of COVID-19 on a person's mental health. The study reviewed about 250,000 people, about 4% of whom tested positive for COVID. Researchers found those who tested positive were more likely to experience lingering feelings of depression that lasted for about 2 months. They found those who suffered more serious cases of COVID that kept them bedridden for a week or more were more likely to experience depression 16 months later. If you are the parent or caregiver of a baby, toddler, or child under the age of 6, the state has a new support line to help, and it's free to call.
You have concerns about your child's behavior, if you're experiencing parenting stress, if your child has really big emotions, that consultant is there to listen to what concerns that you have, help you problem solve, help you talk through that, and then ultimately connect you to resources in your local communities.
Officials do stress it is a support line, not a crisis line, but the number to call is 833-ECMH-411, which stands for Early Childhood Mental Health 411.
Now to the latest in Ukraine. A 4th round of peace talks between Russia and Ukraine are on pause. But leaders from Poland, Slovenia, and Czech Republic are heading to Kyiv today to pledge the European Union's unwavering support for Ukraine and its president. We're seeing more devastating images and video of missile attacks on civilians and apartment buildings. This is what's left of Mariupol. Fires are burning across the city. Officials say over 2,000 people have been killed. In Kyiv, a rocket was intercepted and crashed into the city street. At least 1 person was killed and 6 others were hurt. The International Court of Justice will rule tomorrow on war crime allegations brought against Russia by Ukraine. Colorado is helping Ukraine any way it can. The state announced it collected more than 1,000 pieces of body armor, including nearly 840 complete sets. The donations were from more than 25 Colorado law enforcement agencies. The state is working with partners to deliver the donations to Ukraine.
People living in a Denver neighborhood are now reaching out to contact Denver 7 because their phone service keeps dropping.
Very frustrating. Denver 7's Rob Harris talked to a customer who went to AT&T for answers.
Don't let his computer or 2 iPhones fool you. Michael Lewis says he's a simple guy when it comes to tech.
I'm pretty much just text, look up stuff on the internet. I mean, I really don't have social media.
That's why Lewis was especially frustrated when, in late February, out of the blue, both of his AT&T iPhones started dropping most calls, texts, and data in the neighborhood he's lived in for years.
I wasn't getting text messages, wasn't able to call, I wasn't able to get any real meaningful service, and the problem has persisted ever since.
We tested out the problem. I walked out across the street to have Lewis call me from his phone.
You can see it's trying to call.
His first call didn't even go through, and the second...
Yeah, you're very garbled now. Lewis is just one of several people who've reached out to Denver 7 to talk about this very issue, and dozens more people are talking about it on Nextdoor, having the same problems. What they say is especially frustrating has been the different answers each have gotten from AT&T when they've called to complain.
The explanations have ranged from, hey, it's your fault, it's my fault as the user, or my phone isn't up to date, or my friend has an Android and not an iPhone, so that's a problem. Several explanations, none of which has led to any type of resolution.
We reached out to AT&T about this. A spokesperson said they ended 3G service in February, impacting older phones, and that they offered free replacement phones for customers. However, both of Lewis's phones use 4G and 5G service. AT&T also said phones bought from third parties or configured improperly could have issues. But Lewis tells us both phones were bought at an AT&T store, and both have been tested by an AT&T technician. All of this has him considering a service switch after 15 years with AT&T.
I've got to have a phone that's reliable. They're not holding up their end of the bargain.
Rob Harris, Denver 7.
It's important to keep up to date with your phone provider to see how switching over to 5G will impact your service. AT&T, T-Mobile, and Verizon have all said 3G service could be impacted by upgrading to 5G.
Potentially good news for student loan borrowers. The early signs the federal government could push back payments once again.
The Broncos are on the way to getting a new defensive lineman in the NFL free agency period. What we know about this first post-Russell Wilson hire.